3 weeks ago, a team of spec-ops was deployed to Afghanistan to investigate an old Russian complex. The team was comprised of 3 members. 2 made it out. 1 died later of unknown causes. I was one of them. It started out just as any other sortie. Get in, get out. Keep it simple. What we didn't expect was what we were after. Apparently recon had discovered an old complex, covered by sand, apparently undisturbed since its inception. The door was bolted shut. Wooden boards were nailed to the door. That didn't stop us from getting in. Marco, the demo specialist, hooked a charge to the door. An electronically detonated explosive blew through the door like tissue paper, and we made our way in. The door was heavy, about 4 inches thick, but the bolt was not sturdy enough to hold. As we made our way in, something struck Henry, the combat medic in our squad, by surprise.
Hey, you guys smell that?
I don't smell anything,
Marco said, keeping focus on the open room.
Well, it smells like something rotting. Keep an eye out.
Will do, I said, keeping a mental note about the smell. As we moved through the complex, a slight banging noise was heard in the ventilation, and some of the air shafts were busted open, strangely, from inside of the shafts. I caught this, and alerted Marco and Henry. Henry deduced that it could not have been done with explosives, as no shrapnel or blown-out wall panels were present. Both he and I found this odd, and as we were investigating the shaft, we heard Henry shout for us, followed by gunfire. 12 shots were fired, and we found Henry huddled in the corner of the room, shaking. What was in that room defied all logic. Bodies. There were bodies everywhere. Some were mutilated beyond all recognition. Others were stripped down to the bones. One corpse was split in half, with his upper body hanging from the ceiling. His lower body was thrown onto the floor. The bodies looked to be all soldiers, 12 in total. The doors to the other rooms were covered in thick greenish gunk, forming a sealant along the door, as proven by the corpse piled along the door, each one ripped to shreds. There was something else in that room, however. A long, sand-colored, worm-like creature lies still, with multiple holes peppering its roughly 7-foot-long body. Green, oily blood covered the floor around it, with Henry splattered with the blood. This was shocking. Henry was an experienced spec-ops, serving some of the most harrowing, dangerous missions in the world. How could this break him? As Marco was trying to get Henry to his feet, one of those things burst from the ceiling ventilation unit, grabbing Henry by the upper body, dragging him upwards. Henry flailed around, his screams muffled by the creature grabbing his body, now bringing him to the waiting maw of the worm. Marco and I opened fire, but the worm would not budge, swiftly thrashing upwards, bringing Henry with it. We stood in horror as Henry screamed, followed by 6 shots from his pistol, and then an audible crunch. Marco and I ran as fast as we could, stumbling and tripping as we bolted towards the facility door. More of those things could be heard scuttling towards us, their shrill screech echoing through the walls of the facility. As they scrambled towards us, we slammed the facility door shut, the worm's body slamming into the heavy metal.
This is Alpha. Henry is KIA. Something took him into the vents. We can't fight them. This place needs to be destroyed. Requesting immediate evac.
Marco had panic and fear in his voice, shouting into the radio as the worm smashed into the door. We were attempting to get farther away, when the door broke open. The blockage of planks and bolt locks were the only things keeping them in. They burrowed into the sand and vanished. We were terrified, seeing those things move with such speed through the loose sand. Marco opened fire on the mounds of sand that were now rushing towards us. I joined in, and we killed one. The beasts were unstoppable, taking multiple assault rifle shots and still going. As we scrambled backwards, one of those things grabbed Marco by the legs, attempting to drag him into the sand. Marco dumped his remaining bullets into the worm. Before its body was riddled with holes, it sunk its razor-sharp teeth into Marco's legs. He screamed in agony as the wound started festering immediately. He scrambled to his feet, as did I, and we bolted farther into the desert. The helo arrived about 6 minutes later. The soldiers on board dropped out, but Marco protested heavily, saying they would be taken into the sand. He was losing blood fast, and I protested with him. Those things swam through sand like it was water, and they were ferocious in their hunt. We wasted no time getting out of there, lifting off as the worms leapt towards Tahilo. When we arrived at base, we were alerted that the area was bombed. When a spec-ops team like ours needed air support or reinforcements, we were put on high priority list of recovery, as our mission were vital to security. When the mission handler told us that a search team was to be sent out, I urged them not to, as those things would leave no trace of the team behind. I was told only today that Marco had died of his injuries, and that the infection from the bite was extreme, causing the skin to erode and large green lumps to form around the bite area. The only reason that I'm saying this is because I think that there are more of them out there. The Russians built that facility to study these things, and when they broke free, they sealed it off. More reports have been coming in about disappearances in the Afghan mountains and deserts, with little or no trace of the victims, only half-eaten corpses or shredded clothing. I'm praying now, praying that whatever these things are, they do not reach the cities of Afghanistan. They will cause untold havoc, deaths in the thousands, and they will not stop until nothing is left. I'm shipping back home to the States today, and I'm hoping that the worms do not reach another team like mine, alone, searching for documents or files. Something about my transport is quite unnerving. It has been packed with samples from the site. How they got them is still a mystery, but they are on this plane. One crate is full of bodies, and I'm pretty sure that one is full of samples from the door, covered in gunk. But one crate keeps shifting, and I swear I can hear a dim scraping of sand against the steel box.